Well, we probably should have ditched the jaunty music at the start of this show and replaced it with the funeral march, because that's the sort of mood we're in this week. Welcome once again to the Titus and Sergio Variety Hour. I'm Sergio Paradise, and here is a man who looks like he's been pickled in whiskey for 2 days, or at least 24 hours, Titus O'Reilly.
Yeah, not
fun
happy.
day yesterday, wasn't it?
Worst weekend I've had since last year.
Well, I'd been a couple of things I learnt yesterday. I went to the pub to watch the McGregor-Mayweather fight, and we'll get to that in a minute.
Yeah.
And then I came home and kept drinking and watched the Adelaide West Coast game.
Right.
And then I discovered later in the night that the best advice you can give someone is don't tweet drunk. You know?
And who did you get yourself sacked from this time?
No, apparently I could sack myself.
Yeah.
But apparently no media organisation has flung me this week. But gee, when I found myself last night yelling at the TV, not just barracking for Adelaide, but then getting angry at Adelaide for not winning. And I'm thinking, well, why am I getting angry at Adelaide? I should be more angry at Melbourne, which I was. True. Oh, but it was just a horrific 24 hours all round.
Well, we're going to get into that. I know the majority of people listening have really just listened to us just fall apart over Melbourne, and we've got plenty of questions about that. Before we start, we should say we're on tour this week. Thursday we go.
Starts Thursday night in Melbourne.
Melbourne, yeah. 6
capital cities in 6 nights.
That's right.
Oh.
We're off and running. So we're going
what happens in
Melbourne, Melbourne, Sydney, Perth, Adelaide, Canberra, Brisbane.
Yep.
That's the tour itinerary.
Pretty hectic tour schedule.
Finishing next Tuesday in Brisbane. So Tuesday week, sorry.
Yeah.
So if you're looking for something to do in the bye week and want to come down, I'll put the tickets in the link. You can go to Frontier Touring, but I'll also put the tickets in the link, and that has a link to all the different cities and everything. And all of them are getting close to sold out, so we're looking forward to everyone who's already bought tickets to seeing you. And I tell you what, after the weekend, you'll be a chance to laugh with and at us.
And at us, yeah. I have a sneaking suspicion there's going to be a few people there taking, what's the German word? Schadenfreude. Yeah, taking delight in the misery of others.
Those Germans have a word for everything.
Yeah, they do, especially when it comes to misery and being defeated.
So the tour is coming up. I'm looking forward to it. Actually, and if the only silver lining out of yesterday is Melbourne have given me a chunk more material as they always do.
And it's given our people in Adelaide more chunks of material to hurl at us as well.
If we don't sell out Adelaide now, with all the people coming to... A lot of people are pointing out that you've bagged Adelaide a lot, and that's why they've done you no favours.
Yeah, I know. But I did have a couple of Adelaide supporters tweet me last night saying, geez, in a roundabout way, haven't you got on board Adelaide all of a sudden, when I needed them to win?
I tweeted out, we fly as one, hashtag we fly as one at the start of yesterday's game. But anyway,
then when it looked like they were going to get beaten, and then I turned again.
Yeah. Let's cover off. We should also thank our supporters. Thanks for everyone who's become a supporter and over the last few months of this year. And we carry right through summer with everything too. So you get year-round output from us as a supporter.
No rest.
We really couldn't do this if we didn't have supporters. So everyone who's a supporter for the writing of the podcast and everything we do, thank you. And if you want to become a supporter and keep us around, and more importantly, keep us out from paywalls, which I used to write a bit, and it would be behind paywalls, and people would say, can you get it out of the paywalls?
It keeps us away from paywalls and genuine employment.
That's true. So I'll put the link, but you can go to titusoreilly.com, and there's a supporter button there, and you can take out an annual or monthly ability to support us. So we would love it if you did that. Now, you mentioned you saw Mayweather versus McGregor?
I did. Before we get to that, though, I just want
yes, we talked about this
sad note.
Off air.
We joke about losing footy being tragic and all that, but really it's just losing a game of footy. It was very sad on Saturday to learn of the passing of the great Drew Morfitt.
Who you knew?
Yeah, I was pretty good mates with Drew back in the day, sort of late 80s, early 90s. We used to see him around the traps, and as well as being a legendary broadcaster, to be fair to say, he was a legendary bloke around town as well. If you look back in the late 80s, because these things don't exist anymore, he was one of the great champions and proponents and exponents of the drink card. especially at Silver's nightclub in Toorak. He was a legend on so many different levels.
Yeah.
Make that of it as you will. But he was too young to go, and he'd be greatly missed by everyone in the media industry and what have you. He was one of your genuine good blokes.
I find it interesting you bring that up as a story because so often when someone passes away, you know, people tend to put them in this sort of like almost saint-like view. Not saying he wasn't a great guy, but
he was no saint.
But they forget to tell the funny that some of these people are hilarious, are very funny, which is the good bit of life. You know, like
absolutely.
That's the fun bit. You know, and this is. To me, his passing was interesting because cricket fans and footy fans
you don't often get that.
Knew his stuff and knew it well, and he also. I think he's one of those guys, you don't see it as much these days, of the person who is a broadcaster.
Yeah.
So not an ex-player or anything, like an actual broadcaster, which I think we don't have enough of in the game
he sort
these
of
days.
did his apprenticeship at the ABC when it was that old school thing. I think he started in the mailroom or something as the junior, and eventually somebody led him behind a microphone and he learnt from some of the best.
Yeah.
And that's right. He's a genuine broadcaster. And like I know guys who work at Channel 7 over the years, and I reckon on whenever they covered the Olympics, Drew was one of the great men to go to the Olympics with.
Right.
Because they always knew he's a pro as a broadcaster.
Yeah.
But as soon as the cameras are off, there was not a city in the world where Drew didn't know where the best bar was. He was a
no wonder you and him got along.
Well, as you say about, celebrating the funny side, I know his wife, Kaz, and she enjoyed a party as well. She said for his memorial, I don't think it's been announced yet, whether it's going to be the MCG or whatever
they do,
he said, it's going to be like a roast, and it will be. There'll be just a truckload of media types getting up telling funny Drew stories and then getting on the grog. In fact, it'll be a great day.
If I had friends, that's how I'd like my passing to be.
Won't be in the members' dining room.
No, be at KFC. So all the best to Drew's family in this tough time, and it is a very sad note. Now, moving on to Mayweather-McGregor.
Yes.
You went to the pub to see this? You didn't watch one of the... There was a lot of illegal streams you could get very easily, I noticed with this yesterday.
But no, I went to sort of my local pub, which generally on a Sunday afternoon is just a couple of tired old palmers getting eaten by a couple of tired old blokes. But it was packed yesterday.
Really?
And it was going off. Absolutely going off.
Wow.
And I've got to say, the fight itself surprised me. It was surprisingly watchable.
Well, for those that don't know, and most people listening to this would know, but Floyd Mayweather is arguably the greatest boxer that's ever lived now. Some people would argue, and he's never been defeated in his professional career. I think it's 50?
50 fights now, never been beaten.
And as I saw someone point out on Twitter, if you count all the women he's beaten up, it's 54 because he has been to serve time for that sort of stuff. Yeah, he's a horrible person.
Yeah, I was about to say he's not a nice guy, but he
is a horrible person.
It's funny that you often find that with professional boxers.
They're not nice people
because they make a living punching people.
Strange, isn't it?
Turn out to be not such good blokes.
Strange, isn't it? Now, so Mayweather, aside from his personality, universally seen by boxing purists that I've spoken to as technically the most sound boxer they've ever seen, and an incredible boxer who knew you don't need to always knock someone out. It's a science of wearing someone down and then scoring the points on them, and that's how you win. Yeah. And he always won and been incredibly well prepared. Now, Conor McGregor, if he fought, is a UFC champion, so mixed martial arts, not a boxer.
No, I mean, they kick and scratch and knee.
Yeah, you can do, it's mixed martial arts, so you can do all sorts of things. So he got in the boxing ring with him to box, and they made a lot of money, which was one of the reasons. I think Floyd made 100 million and McGregor made 30 or something, and it's probably a bit higher.
It's more than that,
But, that was something I saw after the fight yesterday, but I'm assuming that's not including all the various things that will come from it. And it was seen, this was going to be seen by many because it was a untried boxer, really, against one of the greatest boxers, as an absolute farce. That was what people thought going into this. So,
I mean, boxing fans thought this is, it was below Mayweather to go into this circus kind of thing.
And if McGregor won, they would have seen it as like the end of boxing, how they were talking about it.
But you've got to say, I mean, it was in Vegas, and the Americans do hype and stuff like that better than anyone.
Very well.
And the promotion for this was to such an extent that, you know, like in Melbourne, and this would have been in hundreds of cities around the world, that people who couldn't care less about either sport were going, no, I'm going to watch that fight.
Yeah.
I'm going to go and watch that and watch it with interest.
It was amazing to me that, well, one, Mayweather came out to the ring dressed like he was one of those protesters at the recent Charlottesville and all that sort of stuff. He had a balaclava on, and
with just two holes for the eyes and one for the mouth, a black cap, and then a black
and
hoodie
sort of a vest, sort of. It was weird.
Oh, like strange.
But it actually went. Was it 9 or 10 rounds? It was
the 10th round.
10th round that it was. Conor McGregor was stopped by Mayweather for a technical knockout, and it did look like Conor was gone.
He didn't have much left in the tank.
But interestingly, this wasn't a complete debacle. McGregor really took it to Mayweather in the first 3 rounds, and he really punched himself out, which was Mayweather's strategy. So Mayweather outthought him the whole way through. Yeah. But even Mayweather admitted McGregor was a lot better, he thought, than he expected. He actually landed quite a few blows on him in the first 3 rounds.
Well, that was what people in Mayweather's camp were saying beforehand. Yeah, of course we're favourites and he will win the bout. But this bloke can throw a punch, and, you know, in any boxing match, you only need to get one through, and it can be over.
Yeah.
And he had a good crack at it, McGregor, in that first, as you say, 2 or 3 rounds, but he didn't land any telling or lasting blows.
No.
And then Mayweather just, you know, picked him apart a bit as the rounds went on.
He looked out in the last sort of 5 rounds.
There's some people saying, it was stopped too early. But I reckon another 30 seconds he would have been carried out.
He wasn't even defending himself anymore. His arms were. You can tell when a boxer's tired because their arms drop down to about their waist.
And he was looking more glazy eyes than he normally does. You know?
Jimmy McCaffrey wrote in, "Can I stop pretending to care about boxing now?"
Yeah, you can, Jim. I think the rest of the world's with you on that.
A friend of mine said to me, who went to the pub to watch it, and texted me after, and I said, was it packed? Because I watched it on a stream here, and they said, was it packed? And he said, yeah, but luckily I don't have to go watch a boxing match for another 3 or 4 years.
Yeah, exactly.
Because it's that thing you go to the last one he'd gone to was Pacquiao Mayweather.
Oh, yeah.
So it's sort of like once every 3 years they throw up one of these you have to see matches.
And the other worry about going to watch a boxing match in a pub, I reckon, is after the fight, that's when some of the patrons decide that they might just have a bit of a go themselves. Yeah. It's like you go to the Grand Prix and idiots get out of the Grand Prix and go, look, I'll drive the Mitsubishi Magna at 200 Ks this afternoon.
It was $60 to buy in Foxtel or $59.95 or something. And I thought, I always think this with boxing or UFC.
Nah.
The amount of times, like, it's a lot of money unless you're a fan, because if you're getting it really for just the main event, which is most people, if it's over in a minute, it's like
you've just done your
dough, you know, like. So,
well, that's why, you know, for numerous reasons, but I wasn't going to pay the $60 because I thought this could be over in the first round.
You did spend $200 at the pub.
Yeah, that's great. I mean, $11 pints. You know,
it didn't really work out for you.
No. If I looked at it technically on an economic sense,
it'd be cheaper if you bought it at home. So, anyway, it wasn't the debacle we all thought. And it'll be interesting to see. Mayweather says he's going to retire, and McGregor will see whether he keeps up the boxing career, or whether he goes back to UFC. But there's going to be a bit of talk of him continuing with boxing because he did a lot better than everyone thought. So there you go. Now, more importantly while the eyes of the world might have briefly glanced at Mayweather-McGregor, really they were watching Melbourne play Collingwood on Saturday. This was one of the... Well, here's the thing. Melbourne had to beat Collingwood, of course. Collingwood ended up finishing 13th on the ladder. They had to beat Collingwood to guarantee they got in the finals. Yeah. Now, even if they lost, there was a good chance that they could have possibly stuck through because of other results. But being Melbourne, you knew if that was the case that it wouldn't go their way. Yeah. Now, I'd say this was like, it was a terrible day, but This happened to Melbourne last year when they only had to beat Carlton.
Yeah, that's right.
Who are not even as good as Collingwood are now. And we couldn't do that. So the idea that Melbourne, I mean...
with everything to play for, are going to bring their A game.
And so, interestingly, Melbourne decided that this was the week, with everything on the line, not to tackle.
Yeah.
And not to run.
The first quarter was the most insipid, soft thing I've seen since the Neild era. Given that when Melbourne have won their games and won them convincingly this year, their intensity at the ball and their tackling has been brutal. And
but without Viney, they just go to water. They just are not... And it's...
They looked like they were all, ran out there and going, look, we got finals in a couple of weeks, boys. Nobody, make sure you don't get injured, We'll just cruise through this game. I went and watched them train on Thursday.
Yeah.
And they look pretty sharp, but then, all teams look pretty sharp in round 23.
They only just got over Brisbane.
Yeah.
I mean, it wasn't like...
I was not cocky confident on the track too.
But the thing about Collingwood this year is... Look, I've bagged Collingwood as much as anyone because they've been going backwards for years. But even this year, even though they finished 13th and they've always had... Their problem with their team is they don't have a forward line and... They all try hard. I actually think they do that. They just don't have the talent on the pitch.
No.
Now, Melbourne are more talented on paper than them, but they just didn't put in the effort. Collingwood have won a lot in the second half of the season because they do constantly play. Now, they've reappointed Buckley for 2 years this morning. Which, I mean, I'm in two minds about that because on one thing, I think Buckley has consistently had them going lower every year, but then I also see... He's had to deal with the list management of that club, which I don't know how much that's been the biggest problem. But I don't know. I think they just went, look, are we going to get someone else any good? Who's going to want this gig?
Who do we appoint,
Do you reckon they rattled the tree and tried to get Ruse and tried to get a few others, and they said no, and then so they've just gone, well, we don't have any
phone calls would have been made.
Yeah.
I mean, you'd if you were the head of Collingwood or you were in charge of the review, or you're even Eddie.
Yeah.
You'd have been irresponsible not to pick up the phone and ring Paul Roos.
Yeah.
Or someone. I don't know, Ross Lyon and that whole Brad Hardy thing. I don't know if anyone rang Ross Lyon. But surely they would have rung Paul Roos. But then after Roos, the list is, the cupboard's pretty bare, really, for experience. And see, Collingwood are never going to go with a young assistant coach in his first role, I reckon. They're always
the thing
looking
with
for
Buckley,
a saviour.
though, is so there's a part of me that thinks Buckley could, like Hardwick has a bit this year, Buckley could prove us all wrong, and has had to deal with terrible list management, injury, various things, and actually does know what he's doing. He's going to turn them around next year or whatever, right? That is because no one knows what's going on with footy, really, when we all pretend. So that could happen. But then you look at it and go, the problem with Collingwood under Buckley is they've always done this, which is they never fully bottom out.
Yeah.
They look like they're always about to turn the corner. They don't do what...
They're 2 or 3 games away from
disaster. Yeah. Whenever they've
But also the other way, 2 or 3 games
from
away
being
from being okay.
That's right. Like they just have this amazing ability to just be what I would describe as only okay.
Yeah.
That's true. They're not terrible.
Yeah.
And it's why they could beat Melbourne, because Melbourne looked exhausted.
Yeah.
Like young players just looked like they...
It was so predictable that Collingwood would come out firing on Saturday. They had everything to... Well, yeah, they didn't have to play for finals, but they wanted to make their stamp on it.
Yeah.
The players obviously wanted to support Buckley, and everyone from the president down would have taken great delight in knocking Melbourne out of the finals.
Yeah, but so good on them. They should take great delight.
Yeah.
I mean, it was so inexcusable. A few Collingwood supporters were getting stuck into me, and I had no qualms with that because I was like, we deserve everything we cop.
I agree.
That you guys deserve to be proud that your club had more heart on the day than ours did, and you had nothing on the line except saving a coach that hasn't really necessarily even been that great.
Yeah.
But they still played with more passion
they did.
than ours. Yeah. And look, I guess we were just a bit ambitious thinking you can just sneak back in after 11 years out of the final. Just sneak back in.
Yeah,
it was just unbelievable.
Just pop back in.
The other thing is then then, you know, it all came down to, well, could Freo beat Essendon? And then they almost do. So footy gods are completely toying with my emotions all day. But I'll tell you this, and I'm not afraid to say this, even though I'm a big, you know, an insane Melbourne supporter for ridiculous, who knows why. Once we lost to Collingwood, I almost didn't care. I was like, we do not deserve to be in finals, and getting in because, you know, Essendon or West Coast stuff up and don't grasp their chance doesn't make me feel much better, because as a club of where you're trying to get this club to turn around from being a disaster that it's been culturally forever, getting in one when you almost don't deserve it is not like, it's great because you'd prefer to be in the knock, but
you're relying on other teams doing well.
They've looked cooked for the last month. Like they haven't looked good for a month. No. We played an amazing run of games about 3 months ago, and then since then it's been all over the shop.
You know, since they played the 4 games in sort of 18 days, I reckon. They've had nothing left in the tank since then.
Yeah. I know. It's just, who knows? I mean...
And a couple of the players, I'm not going to name names,
Viney killed. They
miss Viney, and a couple of their guys down back. I mean, and I reckon it's the second tier guys at Melbourne.
Yeah.
Who's...
They're not consistently hard workers.
Like your Harms and Hannon and Neil Bull and these blokes. Some weeks they're on and they win, but if they're off, they get flogged. That's what happened on Saturday.
I knew we were in trouble the minute... Neville Jetta made more mistakes in the opening 10 minutes than he has in the last 10 years. Yeah. Like I know he's been there 10 years, but like in his whole career at Melbourne, he made more mistakes in 10 minutes. And then who else was Hibberd was missing targets.
He kicked it out of bounds in the full.
And I'm like going, well, he's been like a superstar for us this year. So as soon as that was happening, I was like, we are done. And
Jaden Hunt was he got the... he hasn't been getting much of the footy lately. He was getting it.
But you know what Jaden Hunt...
banging it straight down the throat of Collingwood.
Gets the ball, does an amazing run through the midfield, and you go, this kid is a genius. And then boots it into a kick it to the opposition or miss like a 3-on-1 or something. Like, if he got that bit right... Never has someone looked so... He's a bit... Remind me what Jeremy Howe used to be like a lot at Melbourne. Yeah. Never has someone so flashy then it be so ordinary immediately following whatever they did. They do something that makes you go, this guy's a gun. And then you watch them...
Jeremy Howe's a good example. I remember 2 years ago, he took the mark of the year against Sydney. Yeah. And it was at the MCG. And the crowd had just gone up as one. He's gone back and just played on and kicked it straight to Adam Goods. And everyone's going, isn't that so typical?
And he's cleaned that up a bit at Collingwood.
Oh, he was good. And the thing about Jaden Hunt, I mean, the Goodwin's obviously letting him have his head and run and take off. But you talk to most senior coaches and they'll go, that's fine if you finish, but it's much better to not run for 30 metres and hit a teammate in space than to run for 30 metres and then turn it over.
Yeah, if you're just going to turn it. The thing too about it is, then I watched the Eagles game. So Freo looked like suddenly almost beating Essendon briefly, and I was like, wow, that'd be amazing. Then the Freo game, then the West Coast game happened, and that even toyed like nothing else. Yeah. Like we're in, we're out, we're in, we're out the whole time. But even then I was like, you know, I wasn't like, damn, Adelaide, they didn't do it for us, because it was all about Melbourne. Melbourne screwed it up. Yeah. Like, there's no right. Like, West Coast deserve to be in the finals over Melbourne for one reason. They had a task to get in front of them, and they did it. Yeah,
they had to play the top team and beat them, and they did it. They did it well.
Although I'm a bit annoyed with the Crows resting Talia and Walker with our season on the line.
Who do they think they are?
But they didn't leave it all on the field for someone else.
A mate of mine texted me last night, saying, and this is what karma's called, he said.
I got a lot of people saying that.
For all the Richmond ninth jokes that you've done over the years. Yeah. He said it was great that Melbourne finished ninth with the smallest ever margin in percentage in AFL history.
But, we've never ever pretended Melbourne aren't a joke.
Well, no, exactly. I mean, this is the thing we've said it numerous times. We have non-Melbourne supporters go, "Oh, you Melbourne supporters, you're always so negative. You always see the
like Rue's saying we had a veil of negativity. Well, I wonder why.
Glass half empty, and because it always has been half empty.
You should be able to buy a veil of negativity on the Melbourne shop, on the Demon store. Now,
red and blue veil of negativity.
Naturally, we had a lot of questions about this. Belinda K wrote in, when other people cry, it starts me crying too. I can't help it. How many boxes of tissues will I need when I listen to the podcast? I didn't cry, and I wasn't even that angry. And I'll tell you why, because I was just numb and sick of it. Yeah. It was worse than being upset.
I was angry,
but I was more just like, it was almost, do you know when you're in a fight with someone, like your partner or something, if they're yelling, it's like one thing, but silence.
That's worse, yeah.
I was like that.
Yeah.
I'm just not really communicating with anyone. I was just sitting there going,
I was angry, not so much at the result or what happened, but angry that I knew this was going to happen. And, as you said, as soon as they lost to Collingwood, I thought, there's no way we're going to make the 8 now. And you can justify by saying, well, we don't deserve to.
Well, which we didn't.
Yeah. But I was just angry at, as you say, I might have to go out and buy a veil of negativity.
But the fact that they made Melbourne, who we give money to and give all our emotional support to all through the year, they then put us in a position where we have to bag for Freo, then Adelaide.
Yeah.
I mean, who does that to a friend?
Who
That's spousal abuse right there.
Who do they think they are?
I mean, I've been going back through. I've read the Constitution. I read the Bible overnight, trying to find some justification for changing teams. But you can't.
No,
it's illegal.
No,
in Victoria to change teams, I can't. But I mean, maybe I'll just get out of sport and get into the arts or something. Like, what am I doing with my life, Serge?
Oh, well, that's a question that's been asked and never answered for quite some time now.
Demon supporters forever.
Yeah. But I think I'm going to get on the Tigers bandwagon now.
Are you going to get on what you like being upset?
Oh, there's room on the bandwagon, and I certainly. Well, on one hand, I'd kind of like to see him go all the way. On the other hand, straight sets would be pretty funny too.
Well, funny, but you might need to move out of Melbourne for a few years until the riots stop.
Wouldn't be driving up Punt Road for any time soon.
Matthew Conahan wrote in, should Melbourne be lambasted for cultural appropriation after finishing the season in Richmond's ancestral position on the ladder? It is true. We have done a peak. They talk about Richmond-y. Melbourne just absolutely did that to perfection. And it's 2 years in a row we've stuffed up making finals against sides we should have beaten.
Teams, And I'll hand it to Matt for that question. He's got some very long words in there. It's a pretty impressive performance, though.
Angela wrote in, what wine pairs best with tears? I was well past wine by the end of it. I was on the spirits. I was just drinking pure gasoline. Because I drank everything out.
Ethanol. Andrew, it's called the ninth position Shiraz. That's what it's called. It's a nice mix of bitterness and anger.
I tell you,
a fresh bouquet of cynicism.
I've never been into this, but this is the closest I've ever felt like getting into like hardcore, like heroin or something. Because I just don't want to feel anymore, Serge. I'm not recommending that for people, but I am thinking about it.
Serious opioids.
It's time to... I really need to numb the pain.
Numb the pain and just take it all away.
I just want it... It's just been terrible. Too long in the bush rope. Do the weekend's events prove Paul Roos's thesis that the core problem at the Demons is fan negativity?
That is a good question. I mean...
You can't blame the... I mean,
you can't blame
that still annoys me about what he did. And yeah, that's right. Like, the fact we still turn up, the fact you and I already sitting here are thinking about next year. Yeah. What is wrong with us, Serge? What is wrong with us?
I was already last night going through the players list, thinking trade, delist.
I looked at it and saw we've got pick 10 in the draft and went, hey, top 10 pick.
There you go. Jake Lever.
Take that.
We'll take Jake Lever from Adelaide.
Oh, why would he come now? That's the other thing about that.
I'd rather have him than Oscar McDonald.
Yeah, but see, Oscar was good in parts of the year. Like, there's a lot of them that is... They are incredibly young is the only thing I justify to myself is about it. But that's just, I'm lying to myself. Matt wrote in, why did I make my kids barrack for Melbourne? You must hate them, Matt. I have to assume. You just hate children generally.
Life's a battle and, nothing comes easy.
I think if I'm assuming Matt is a Melbourne supporter to make his kids barrack for Melbourne. I guess it was like, well, if I'm going to be unhappy, so are you.
So are you. And you can always justify it by saying, hey, it'll toughen them up,
Sure.
Yeah, by the time they get to school and uni, nothing will,
That is the thing. When people try and bag Melbourne to me, and I often get this because, look, I dish it out, so I have to take it. And most of the time they're very funny, so I actually enjoy it. But
we both.
So I can hardly complain about it. But the problem is I never feel it because there's nothing anyone has ever said to me about Melbourne that hurts me more than what Melbourne have done to me already.
Exactly.
Do you know what I mean? Like, it's sort of like...
Exactly.
They'll go, oh, you'll be off to the ski early. And I'm like, the snow early. And I'm like,
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, that's the old snow jokes. Yeah, that's... Ooh, bang.
But even the good ones...
Jokes,
but even the good ones that I get sometimes, I'm still like, yeah, that was pretty brutal, but... It still doesn't. It doesn't. It's not the acid on the soul that watching Melbourne is. Did
you see on Twitter this morning? Warwick Kappa, of all people, has tweeted a picture of a cheese platter outside his front door for Melbourne supporters.
Hashtag put your cheese platters out.
Yeah, and when you become the butt of a joke from a bloke with the IQ of a pencil, it's been a bad weekend.
If you haven't seen it, go on Twitter and look at it because Warwick Kappa's put this cheese plate out.
Yeah.
It is the worst cheese plate. It's like 2 pieces of cheese and nothing else on the... I don't know what he thinks a cheese platter is, but
he wouldn't know.
It's the worst cheese platter in the history of time. I was like, come on, Warwick. And also, about... maybe 2,000 people had done that joke by the time Warwick got around to it.
And you could tell the actual wooden platter itself, if it was Warwick's, he's never used it ever, and which wouldn't be a surprise. Or if he's gone out specifically to buy it for this joke, then that's even worse.
Well, our club has put us into a position where, quite rightly, a man that got trapped in the fire escape of a hotel for an hour can mock us, and there's nothing we can really do to stop it.
No,
so
we
once
just
again,
have to cop that.
We've been put in that position. Steve Wixon wrote, do you feel bad that Melbourne missed out on finals again after such a promising season? Or do you feel vindicated for the lack of faith you have shown them all year?
Well, Steve's sort of on the money there. It's what we've just been saying. We are negative. We do expect the worst. But, we are vindicated because that's what generally happens.
Yeah, we're relentlessly negative, but we're also relentlessly right.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Exactly. People say, and I'm just repeating myself now, people say you Melbourne supporters are so negative. And we go, yeah, but that's what we're used to.
Yeah.
And we're predicting the future when we say
if
it's
you're a
going to be a
Hawks
disaster.
supporter, you have every reason to be confident the club will turn around the next few years. You have every reason to believe that.
They do.
So why would you be negative?
Yeah.
I mean, I wouldn't be negative if people handed me a premiership every few years.
Oh, yeah, it's like Sydney. I mean, they never bottom out. They attract good players. The whole organisation's run brilliantly. They've got great coaches.
Yeah, they rarely have a scandal.
No, they've got good policies.
Well, I hate them too now.
Yeah.
Now you mention it.
Yeah, I've gone off them too now.
Anna Comden wrote in, my main concern is your holiday house still available for Hawthorn supporters in September? There were a lot of Hawthorn supporters that jokingly said, guess I can borrow your holiday house now. Yeah. Well, no, sorry.
Yeah. If we had a holiday house, yeah. But no. I'll tell you what. I don't know what they're doing today, but the Melbourne players...
They better be at training.
Yeah. They better not be mad Mondaying already. If they turn up in full costume today, they've already planned it.
Yeah, they better turn up in civvies. I want to see them just turn up in whatever they got on, nothing else. They would have been out drinking all last night, though.
Eh?
They would have been out drinking all last night. Once the Eagles game was finished.
Yeah.
I always hate, too, when people go, the players will be feeling just as bad as the fans.
No.
And I'm like, I don't care.
Yeah.
That's irrelevant to how I'm feeling.
And nobody paid us $10,000 to watch that game, but some of those blokes got paid $10,000 to play
to not play in it.
Yeah. to have bloody Jamie Elliott make you look like an Oz kicker.
That's the thing I got to say. Not only with Collingwood are not they're an only okay team, but yesterday they looked like the Harlem Globetrotters.
Yeah.
Well, Saturday, sorry. They were like some of the moves they were doing. We made them look like they were an entertaining team to watch.
Yeah, it was like watching. Well, Melbourne, they weren't that bad, but it was like watching Gold Coast. I mean, they were just so horrific the other day. It was,
Speaking of Gold Coast, technically played on the weekend. Now,
they took the field.
Gary Ablett was named and then announced that he wasn't playing 2 hours later.
Yeah, he was named on Thursday night at 6 o'clock, and by 7:30 he was out.
Then he was confronted after training by a journo wanting to interview him on camera, and he sprinted around the back of a van and sprinted off the field. He's meant to have a hamstring problem. It was amazing.
It was like a couple of years ago when Jack Rewald ran from the Punt Road Oval, climbed the fence to the Richmond station,
jumped the Mikey barriers, didn't pay a ticket,
and stood there on platform 5 in his full training
that
gear
was one of
to
the
avoid a
moments.
journo.
Oh, good old Jack. That was a good moment. So Gold Coast, I watched this game for
Did you? I didn't watch. I just heard about it. It just looked shocking.
I'm watching Port take on the Gold Coast, and I'm thinking Port here, Port have been up and down this year and are seen as pretenders. So it'd be interesting to see how they go against Gold Coast. But I thought the Gold Coast with Ablett's pulling out and Tom Lynch isn't playing, and they're just a basket case of a club, and whoever's going to go there next is going to tear them apart.
Yeah.
So I thought they're either going to play okay because they've all got to keep proving that they shouldn't be sacked, the players, or they're going to do the typical thing and there's no reason. They just turn it up. They just not even show up. And they just didn't. I mean, Port were okay. I mean, it's impossible to judge how good Port were. I'll tell you why, because the fact that Port didn't laugh openly during the game at the Swans, even when
Robbie Gray's doing party tricks.
Yeah, when people say, "Oh, this is like a training run."
Yeah.
I imagine under Ken Hinkley, a training run is tougher than what this was. I wouldn't be surprised if Hinkley made them have a training session after this game, because Gold Coast just offered no opposition.
No resistance whatsoever.
And I know you sometimes say that, but really it was just they were just the team was a bit up and down. It wasn't a great performance, and it's hyperbole to say they didn't show up. But Gold Coast didn't even offer to put it in context, right? They scored 20 points for the whole game.
3 goals too in 4 quarters of footy.
5 shots at goal. First time since 1966 that a team managed just 5 shots in a goal. And they didn't score at all from with a few minutes left in the first quarter, all the way through to the early in the fourth.
Not even a point.
Not a solitary point. Not a rush behind. That's almost impossible to actually do. How do you even do that?
Yeah. I mean, that wouldn't happen in Auskick.
No.
Let me ask you this. Is that a good preparation for Port going into the finals or not?
That's what I was thinking today. I'm thinking...
Is it just a training run? Or?
Port effectively won't have played now by the time they play on the weekend, and they're going to take on the Eagles, not till Saturday, September 9th. So they're effectively basically not going to have played almost for 2 weeks.
Or
3 weeks by the time they get to the fight. It is almost like that, because this was not... There's no... This was not worth anything to them. The only thing that was good about it is they'll be incredibly well rested, and they won't have had any serious injuries.
Yeah, well...
But the goal... They were just... And you could just see they were just dialing it in.
The AFL must be savage about this.
They've spent $200 million on them.
200 mil, and you dish that up.
For 5 shots at goal. Yeah. It's like
40 million a shot.
40 million a shot.
And 2 of them missed.
It's not even 40 million. It's more than 40 million. So that's 60 million a goal. They just weren't...
200 mil.
They are just
rabble.
Burning through cash.
Yeah.
It is... And the thing that's most amazing about it too is people on the Gold Coast could not care less. It's not like people on the Gold Coast are going... This is outrageous. We need it.
They've disgraced us. I mean, it's not like Melbourne supporters here, or it's not like Richmond supporters if they get knocked out of the finals. You're quite right. People on the Gold Coast couldn't give a toss, and they're that bad at the moment. Even if the AFL moved them to Tassie, I reckon Tassie would reject them. So we've
decided we don't want to know.
We'd rather have no team than that one. You know?
They are that bad. It was absolutely... I've never seen anything that bad. I think it's close to the worst performance I've seen.
Really? I mean,
even when you remember when Melbourne were playing with Neild again, and we got belted by Geelong.
Yeah,
we scored more than this. Yeah. I mean, this was just even that side that could barely walk without tripping over themselves. Scored more points than this.
Oh, exactly, and even Gold Coast in their first year when they got smashed every week
were better than
this. They were better than this.
This is when Rocket Eade says, "Oh, I was misled. I did my." No, you have left it in worse position than when you found it.
Yeah.
He has.
And that's the worst thing you can say about any coach, really.
The idea that Rocket Eade was just sold a pup is just the great myth he spun around that is just one of the amazing myths of
it's one of your great ass-covering speeches, that.
And that board up there are just... Did you see Tony Cochrane? And the guy who was chair before him was just as bad, but he's come out and said that they'll play finals next year already.
Yeah.
Good
luck with that.
Finals in what? What sport are we playing finals in?
Because
it's not going to be. Yeah, it's not going to be an AFL.
Yeah.
You know, it just.
Oh, tell you what, there'll be crisis meetings at the AFL about this mob.
Well, I think they already have. They know
already.
They know. I mean, if you get appointed senior coach to that, you're getting appointed to work for the AFL, not for the...
Yeah, exactly.
Because they would have no trust in them being able to... That's why they've got their own man up there running it, Mark Evans. That's why he's there. But it was almost laughable, but it was one of those games where I actually enjoyed watching it. Not enjoyed, but kept watching it because you just wanted to see, how low will the end score be?
Yeah.
And I was just like, they got to score soon. I started to say in the second quarter, they got to score at some point. And then it just kept going. And there was a part of me going, imagine if they don't. It looked like they might not score ever again. When they finally scored in the fourth, I was like, it's a minor miracle.
Yeah.
You know?
One of the highlights I did see at one point, Robbie Gray, who's a fantastic player.
Yeah.
But I saw him, he swooped on a loose ball, and then, like a lot of good players do, you can tell he's sort of summing up the 360.
Yeah.
To has he got space? Do I get rid of it now? Do I look down the field?
Yeah.
And he looked up, and you could almost see him thinking, Jesus, there's nobody. What do I do? I'll have 3 bounces then.
I'm not even exaggerating when I say it was amazing. The Port players seemed in shock constantly at certain points in the game where they just looked up and there's every teammate of theirs was open.
Yeah.
Which is everyone was open.
I mean, that shouldn't happen in junior footy, let alone at the highest professional level.
No. So anyway, Dean Solomon said the caretaker coach said he hasn't made up his mind on whether he wants the job next year.
Yeah. Now you're going to see him sitting there quietly sobbing into a jug of beer in the Cavill.
That's a coach killer, that job.
Cavill Street somewhere in Surfers.
To put in context just how bad scoring 20 points, a whole AFL team scoring 20 points in a game, Buddy Franklin kicked 10 goals too on the weekend. So he was
3 times as much.
He kicked 7 more goals than the entire Gold Coast Suns. Now, he did do it against Carlton, which makes it about 3 goals against the good side. And he outscored the Blues. The Blues kicked 8-9 to Buddy's 10-2.
So he won the game off his own boot. I mean, but that's the great thing about Buddy Franklin. I mean, I reckon, for years people have been saying Gary Ablett, he's the best player in the AFL. When Buddy's up and about and in one of those moods, no one can touch him.
No, he's a freak.
And he's, I can't remember who it was, an opposition player said a couple of years ago, they played against him many, many times over the journey. It was one of the Geelong, it could have been Lonergan or someone. And he said, you just know sometimes if he's in that mood. And he said, and if he's in that mood, if you can hold him to 5, you've done a fantastic job.
Yeah.
Because if he's in that mood, he could kick 15 in a game without getting out of second gear.
Yeah.
That's how good he is.
No, it was great to watch. I do feel, where do you think Carlton end up this season?
Oh, I mean, for all the talk throughout the year, there's they're on the right track. They're on the right track, and Bolton, he's doing a great job. I don't know. I reckon if I was a Carlton supporter, I'd have wanted to see a bit more improvement this year.
I mean, my view is they haven't improved on the field, but some of their hashtags and stuff have gotten better.
And that's important, as we know.
So that's where I probably, give them a big tick. But look, you look at it, go, there's a lot of young talent coming through, and maybe, but God, they were just under Bolton, they just haven't scored points. They just don't score. If you get above 75 points against Carlton, you've won.
You win. You win the game.
They average like 72 points a game.
If you score 100, you'll flog them.
And apart from Freo and now Gold Coast, who scores less than 72 points on any regular basis?
Oh, that's right. You cannot be expected to win too many games.
No, you can't have Ross Lyon coaching all your opponents. It's just not going to work out like that. So that brings us to the actual finals. Let's run through them. We've got the first qualifying final. The Crows take on GWS at Adelaide Oval. So that's Friday. That's the Thursday night.
Thursday night.
September the 7th. What do you reckon? That's a good matchup. But
that'd be a good game.
I got to tell you, I'm in this weird headspace. I was talking to someone just before we went on air about this, and they were a bit similar, where my brain is got entrenched on it because of reading all the hype and just the year and everything, right? GWS are a great side and have all the talent and all this and stuff. And then I keep thinking that, but then every time I watch them play, I'm like, they aren't that good. They were not good against Geelong. I was not impressed by them.
I reckon the only time recently that the GWS have looked like an absolute A-level gold class, football team was against Melbourne.
Yeah, which doesn't count as a real game.
They played brilliantly that day. I've never seen the ball moved so well. But Melbourne, I'm a bit the same with GWS.
The only thing I can think, if I'm making an argument for GWS can pull it together and come back, is they've had a lot of injuries and been very disruptive. So now that they've sort of everyone back on the park, can they pull it all together and hit a S and live up to their potential? Yeah. But I still think and part of me goes, they can totally do that. Why don't you be silly to write them off? But then I see them play every time and go, and Adelaide beat them earlier in the year, but Adelaide I think they've improved as the year's gone on, not got worse. They had a few blips, but I think they've actually, when they're on, they can totally beat Gold. And then GWS have to play again.
Yeah. So, I mean, I reckon if GWS win this game, they're back in town. They're playing well at the right end. Yeah. And whoever wins this game, I reckon, will win their preliminary and get into the grand final. Yeah, so it's a big game, this one.
It's huge.
And it'll be a good game.
I like the Crows. To me, the Crows go into are on my short list of teams that can actually win the whole thing. And I'm not sure if Greater Western Sydney are. I sort of...
Yeah, I kind of agree with you. I'll wait and see what happens in this first final. We will learn a lot about them.
Yeah, finals are different and all that, but I don't know. Anyway, Geelong-Richmond is going to be on Friday, the September 8th. It's the second qualifying final. It's at the MCG.
That will be a big night at the G.
Oh, huge. Those two. And the thing is, so Richmond are playing their mental demons more than anything else.
Yeah, true.
That's the hard bit for Richmond, right? The only thing I think is good for them is first time since 2001 they get the second chance, right?
Yeah.
So that's got to alleviate some of the panic of it.
Because they tend to do that, yeah. Well, I remember against Port a couple of years ago. Port kicked 11 goals in the first 10 minutes of the game.
It's all meant. As they say, 90% of the game is half mental. I'm always surprised how much they say the game is a mental one after I've met football. I didn't think they had the equipment.
Yeah, we got Warwick Kappa doing jokes at our expense.
Geelong, I could see Geelong I'm iffy about outside of Geelong, Cardinia Park. Yeah. But they know finals. They've got good players. They know how to get it done. They've had the experience.
Sydney and Hawthorn is that, they get the job done, and you wouldn't be surprised to see him win convincingly and be almost through.
If Richmond lose, I can see Richmond winning this, by the way, but if Richmond do lose it, the panic that will set in Tigerland is going to be...
Oh, yeah, you're right.
I say this to be nice. I've got competing inside me, one side I've got the comedic potential of Richmond going out in straight sets cannot be measured. And so there's a part of me that thinks, wouldn't that be great? The nice side of me being a Melbourne supporter and knowing that Richmond supporters know the pain that I know, I just don't want that to happen to them because it's so cruel. I don't wish that on my worst enemy. It's just a brutal, who happens to be a Richmond supporter, which is just a brutal thing to happen to someone.
I know what you're saying.
Because where's the joy Richmond fans have? Yeah, they're like us. Where's the joy of football? You know, surely they've earned.
Even if they win the flag this year, it'll be bitter tears.
That'll be. But
hey, let me ask you this: do we know off the top of our? I'm sure we do know, but I can't think of it off the top of my head. The combinations, like if Geelong beat Richmond in the second qualifier, they play the winner of which elimination?
Oh, I looked at this morning. I'll have to bring it up for you.
I'm just thinking if Geelong beat Richmond, how nervous are the Tigers going to be if they have to play Sydney the following week?
Well, Sydney are the side that no one wants to play.
Yeah,
I mean, it's as simple as that. You know, why would you want to? I'm just trying to find the list of where I had it this morning.
We're just saying, they would much rather play West Coast or Port in the second week in a do or die game than Sydney. They'll really be panicking then.
I haven't refreshed my browser on the AFL website, and it had all things about can Melbourne make the final. So
if you want to refresh,
that's just depressed me.
The AFL website will. That won't load until about 4 o'clock this afternoon.
Just depressed the hell out of me. Thanks for making me do that. I'm trying to remember where the whole thing goes.
Oh, don't worry about it.
Here it is. Path. The loser of Crows Giants plays the winner of Eagles Power.
Right. So this scenario can happen.
If Richmond lose, they'll play Sydney if Sydney
beat Essendon.
So
there you have it. If Geelong win, like Sydney will beat Essendon, I think we can safely assume that's the one.
This season is so crazy that you never.
But yes, of the 4 games, that's the one I'd be most confident in predicting.
That's the most likely outcome.
Which means week 2 of the finals, it could be elimination for Richmond v Sydney.
Yeah.
And the Tigers, will they be nervous that week?
Yeah, if that happens.
With that straight sets hanging over their head.
Yeah, if you win that, if you win that Tigers Geelong game, whoever wins that, it's not only do you miss out on avoiding Sydney in the next round is huge.
Yeah, that is.
Is huge. You've then got on the Saturday, you've got Sydney and Essendon, which we were just talking about. That's at 4:20 p.m. Australian Eastern Standard Time at the SCG. I can't see Essendon winning that, but, stranger things have happened. But you don't want to play Sydney on their home deck, as people say.
On the SCG, yes.
And then the form they've been at, but who knows? And then the Saturday night, it's Port Adelaide and the Eagles at Adelaide Oval. Now, Eagles have had some success at Adelaide Oval in recent times, so that's not
and they played well yesterday.
That's not impossible.
And as we just said, Port are coming off 3 weeks without a game.
Port are either going to be incredibly well rested or the most rusty you've ever seen.
They'll either be in touch and on fire, or they won't get out of second gear.
They might want to play a game, an intra-club match this week, because that was just nothing. So that's the final. So I'm actually, despite Melbourne beating all joy out of my life, I'm actually really looking forward to the finals this year because it's been such a great season. And in some ways, having seen how Melbourne played against Collingwood, it's of enormous relief that I don't have to watch them play again.
Somebody said to me last night, what would have been worse? What happened today or this weekend, or Melbourne losing the elimination final by 90 points next week?
I know, but the way the footy fan brain is, I think we would have played Port.
Yeah.
You go, I reckon we could almost beat Port over there. And then who knows? Then
And then
but we're kidding ourselves. But anyway, that's the way our brains work. Forever the optimist. You know how they say when women have a baby, that
this will be good.
That they actually say that I've read before that chemicals kick in after the pregnancy that dilute the ability to remember how painful it was. And that's why women will go again, because it's so... And I think footy fans have that same thing happen to them.
A rush of endorphins.
There is no reason why you and I should rock up and watch Melbourne ever again.
Ever again.
There is no reason that's on a rational sense.
And when they send out, the email to renew your membership, we should just delete it. We
should just laugh.
Yeah. But no, we'll get out the credit card and we'll do it all again.
Yep. And say, is there anything else we can help you with?
Yeah. 2018 will be the one.
Now, moving off...
That's our journey.
Our journey. Yeah. I was saying our brand is Enron. Now, moving away from footy, because it's too depressing, and onto a happy story. Yeah. John Coates, president of the Australian Olympic Commission.
Oh, he's one of the good blokes.
Coatesy is one of our close friends and we've been big supporters of. A report's come out that's explained that there is an incredible toxic culture at the AOC marked by favouritism, fear and open hostilities. Yeah. They're actually yours and my culture pillars for our podcast. But anyway, that they have had a toxic culture and he is refusing to take any responsibility for it. Now, he's said here that the report, despite being the head of the organisation, and he's been the head since, I think, 1991.
Yeah,
so it's not like he's just showed up in the last few years and inherited a mess, right?
Oh, that's right. And it was only recently that he got the job back after everyone wanted him out.
Yeah. So there was a 64-page report, independent review into the workplace, and he says that he's not, despite being the head of the organisation, he's not to blame for the toxic culture. He said the report did not find a bullying culture. It did unveil a dysfunctional organisation in a perpetual state of emergency. But Coates said that just because of this report, there's no reason to quit. He said, "Why should I resign? There has been no confirmation of bullying. There's been some criticisms of the senior leaders. I'm the president. I'm the senior leader. I'm not the senior leader that's been criticised." So the fact his direct reports have been criticised, he's saying that. The review, which was headed by the Ethics Centre, was conducted following claims levelled at media director, your mate, Mike Tancred, old Tanker.
I love the way you always say your mate.
Who has been stood down on full pay until the investigation into the senior AOC official and former chief executive Fiona de Jong's claims against him is complete at the end of the month. It said interviews with past and present AOC employees found there was a toxic environment with senior leaders undermining each other, working around each other, and openly displaying hostility towards each other. Some junior staffers described being exposed to public shamings. Coates, however, said that he had nothing to do with him. "No public shaming by me," he said.
Oh, fair dinkum.
Because he likes to do his shaming in private.
Or by email. Fair dinkum. John Coates could be found standing above the dead body of one of his enemies with a smoking gun in his hand, and he would blame someone else.
It is amazing how leaders talk about leadership all the time, but how frequently, when they're found out to be
wanting,
claim that they have nothing to answer for. Like it is.
That is so true. I mean, at a time like that, when leadership is what obviously the organisation needs in abundance, it just goes missing. And he's one of the great handballers of all time.
The thing here about Coates is he just got elected, re-elected, and all these claims were swirling around at the time. But the people that really have to answer here are the bodies, the various sporting bodies that had a vote for him as president. Yeah. And I just don't believe them if they say they didn't know any of this. Yeah, because it was in the media a lot of it at the time. And have voted for him over change. Yeah. And are happy to wear this. He also in this took full credit for Australia improving as a Olympic nation. He said,
sports administrators.
So he says, I'm responsible for taking Australia from winning 4 gold medals to 56 at the 2000 Olympics. Right? I'm like, well, fair enough. Okay, if you're going to take full responsibility for the good stuff as a leader, you didn't play in any of those. You didn't compete in any of those things. But if you're going to take credit for that, you can't then turn around and not take credit for
the bad stuff.
But they do this all the time. They cherry pick.
That's my point about good leaders understand that and put their hands up for that as well. But anyway, he's not doing his cause any any good. And you're dead right. The ones who really need to carry the can are the soft buddy sporting bodies who weren't strong enough, didn't have the balls to stand up and say, actually, change is needed at the top because old coach is gone. If you want my money, you want the handouts, but to the
government has to look at this too and go. And I know they've already had fights between him and the
Sports Commission.
So they're all. But seriously, like this is, and I love how they like the technical definition that it's not bullying.
Yeah.
To defend themselves. Well, it hasn't found bullying. It's just found that, we're deeply dysfunctional and that it's a horrible place. It's a toxic culture. Yeah. And they go, yeah, but not bullying.
Yeah. and when an independent report actually uses the phrase toxic culture, you know that there's a toxic culture.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, but talk about washing his hands of anything.
But in the same media conference, he took claim. He took the glory. He took responsibility for all the gold all the gold medals Australia's won in improving.
Oh, it's just got
like it was quite. What amazes me about so often people in positions of power happens in sport and politics and corporate world is how little insight they have into their own behaviour. It's quite like if to not even have the insight that. Look, I got to defend this. So I'm best I'm not going to claim responsibility for all the good stuff while I'm denying the negative. I'll just defend the negative and move on. But they don't even have the insight to do that. They contradict themselves in the same...
They don't have the self-awareness to see how their behaviour can be perceived by others outside.
How it is perceived
how
by
it is
everyone.
Perceived outside. And coach is your perfect example of that.
Yeah.
And of your dickhead sporting administrator who,
But because he's in a position of power, everyone's scared to really do much.
Oh, I mean, he's ruled
like the politicians will still do media conferences with him. They'll still stand next to him. They'll still give him money.
And he'll and the whole Olympic Games and the Olympic ideal thing is starting to struggle more and more. And well, you would think that the Olympic ideal of, harmony between nations and friendly competition, you'd reckon working at the AOC would be a great place to work.
Yeah.
But at Fairtingham, it'd be worse.
I had someone contact me who I know worked at the Olympic Commission. I won't say over the coach's reign, but that's a 20-year reign. And I won't say who it was. And they said it was a horrible, horrible place to work.
Unbelievable.
Just awful.
Unbelievable.
Stuart Crooks wrote in, this is not about the Olympics, again on our listeners' questions. We talk that there will eventually be a WA NRL team. Should the Force just leave Learn League? How hard could it be?
Well,
that's a solution.
Well, that's a fair point. I mean, as rugby union, rugby league, we all go, well, what's the difference? I mean, if Israel Folau can play a few AFL games, surely the Western Force can learn how to play league.
Well, do you think if you're the AFL... and you're the AFL, the West Australian Football League and everything too, isn't now the time you just go and target every junior rugby union club over there?
Oh, of course you would.
And try and poach every good player because they're on their knees?
Or just do a straight swap with the Suns and the Western Force.
Dan Timon wrote in, why do I snore so much?
See, there's something about this, Dan. How do you know you do? Normally you only find out you snore too much if you have a partner.
You don't think Dan...
And I'm suggesting that maybe if you're writing into us to ask that question, pretty certain that you're sleeping single most nights there, Dan.
Anyway, that's a terrifying picture you paint of our listeners. Now we should do... what's the best question? What's our best question? Now,
you pick it. I'll pick the last couple.
I like Matt Conahan's one about should Melbourne be lambasted for cultural appropriation after finishing the season in Richmond's ancestral position on the ladder.
Just a beautifully written sentence. That.
Yeah, lots of big words that I'm going to look up when we get off air. Thank you, everyone. And I know it's been a very Melbourne-centric one, but that's all the questions we got because people wanted to basically bag us. I could have done another 400 questions on people just sticking the boots into us. It has been as bad as you can imagine.
Yeah.
Now, we're on tour Thursday.
Thursday
we'll have
night in
podcasts going up at some point, but We are on the road, so I'm not sure.
Can't guarantee there'll be one next Monday.
No, but there might be one next. There'll definitely be one next Thursday because we'll wrap up and tell about tour. So if you do want to get your fix of us while we might be off doing that, come and see us at the tour if you can. We'd love to see you. There are some tickets left. I'll put the link in the show notes. And if you get a chance, go on and rate us on iTunes or leave a comment. That always helps us get the word out. And then we're going to be back after the tour, bigger and better than ever, getting ripped into the finals.
Yeah, exactly.
And then the real footy season starts with the draft and the trade period.
Yeah, the bits that we really enjoy.
Well, now that's all I got to look for. We'll see you then, and if we don't see you before, then we'll see you on the tour.